What is up, family? We have another Patreon request, and the Patreon wants us to watch this so badly that they used up like 2.5 months worth of requests for 1 2-hour video, which normally is impossible for me to do. But I agreed to do 4 parts, 30 minutes each, and I'm gonna try to do them one day after the other. Otherwise, I'm gonna forget what the hell I was watching if we wait too long. You know what I mean? So it has to be fresh. And it has to be a crime. What is this? True crime investigation. The assassination of little Gregory. L'assassinat de petit Gregory. Bon. This is gonna be sad, huh? It's gonna be one of those.
It's a face, an angel's face that has haunted the French press for so many years. The
Il parle français, but I hear English.
face of Gregory.
Okay. 4 ans.
The Gregory affair is the most enigmatic news item of the end of the 20th century.
Do you think that you know the murderer? The one who killed your son?
I know him. I know him, yes.
Everything about the life of this family, the Villemain from L'Éponge-sur-Vologne, has been said, told, and photographed.
We thought maybe I'll shake hands with the murderer. It obsessed us.
My brother-in-law, Bernard, he's innocent.
Murderer. It obsessed us.
First of all, journalists are crazier than murderers. You hear what she just said? Anyway.
My brother...
You guys ever watch the movie The Exorcist? The first one? The original Exorcist. You ever... Je suis peur. No, vraiment, j'ai peur. I mean, as a matter of fact...
in-law, Bernard, he's innocent.
What the fuck is that?
A man is dead. Jean-Marie Villemain, Gregory's father, believed him to be his son's murderer, so he coldly shot him dead. The mother was long accused of the murder of her son.
What?
And yet, so many years later, we know nothing or very little. We do not know how Gregory was killed, nor why, nor by whom.
Sounds like our Ramsey, John Benet Ramsey. Sounds like that's ours, which no one ever figured out.
We will probably
Little girl.
never know. Yet it remains a unique investigation with its crow, its little judge, this family full of unspoken secrets.
Did he say crow?
These detective journalists who sometimes think they are vigilantes, and in the end, a real legal disaster.
Yeah, but...
Gregory was a 4-year-old little boy, the son of Christine and Jean-Marie Villemain. They lived in a small village, L'Éponge-sur-Vologne, in the Vosges. On October 16th, 1984, shortly after 5 p.m., Gregory disappeared in front of his home. The gendarmes were immediately notified.
Les gendarmes. The gendarmes.
They searched the village. Night fell. By the light of their torch, they approached the river in the neighboring town of Docelle.
Around 9 p.m. on the radio, we'd got a call. We'd found him.
Already?
For a moment, I had a second of hope that the nightmare was over and that this child was found safe. In fact, it was not the case. The nightmare was only just beginning because Gregory's body was found in Docelles in the Vologne River.
That's messed up. Drowned.
The child was dead. His body had been found, fully clothed, washed up on a dam 7 kilometers away from L'Éponge.
Maybe he was killed and then thrown in a water.
When I had to examine him, I was shocked to see him bound.
He was bound?
It sometimes happens that we have to report a drowned person, an accident, etc. But there, this bound body, it immediately made us think it was a criminal case.
That's dope. Look at his ankle. Oh, man. What the people are sick. And who the hell is that? Is that a police officer?
We observed that he was attached from the feet to the head. That is to say, his feet were bound, his legs with his hands in front of his body. The same cord which tied him also passed around his neck, but he was not tied very, very tightly.
Wow.
His beanie was pulled down over his face, and when we rose it,
So he couldn't see.
we discovered the face of a child who seemed to be sleeping, who was serene.
He had no marks of blows. We could also have thought that in the river, his body would have been mishandled, etc., rolled into the waterfalls. But there were no signs at all of deterioration, no tearing of clothes, etc.
Why had a 4-year-old child been thrown into the cold waters of the Valone River?
With his face covered, bound. Do you know how terrifying his death must have been? Oh my God.
It was a crazy move. It seemed as if the child had been sacrificed in front of everyone.
Wow.
Two journalists witnessed the discovery. Philippe Jéchou worked for La Liberté de l'Est. He was with a photographer from the newspaper.
It was near the tufts of grass that Gregory's body was found, and it was approximately 9:15 p.m. What was shocking was that the water was cold. A little 4-year-old. People had also seen the hood over his face, the tied hands, etc., and this very, very cold claim 2 or 3 hours before.
In fact, the crime was claimed over the telephone barely half an hour after the child's disappearance. Immediately, Christine and Jean-Marie Villemain understood that their son had been kidnapped to be killed.
Okay, I mean, kidnapping is usually... never mind. I guess, yeah, you could... Normally kidnap... I don't like that word kidnap unless it's... Well, yeah, no, kidnap. You could kidnap and kill somebody. Yeah, okay, never mind. I'm thinking more kidnapping is what you do when you want a ransom. You don't kidnap to kill, but I guess you do, because essentially you're kidnapping. But I mean, you kidnap everybody you kill. If you're a murderer, you kind of just take people and kill them. You don't really kidnap them. I don't know, whatever. It's terrible.
The family told us they received a phone call around 5:30 p.m.
That's early.
It was one of Jean-Marie's brothers, Michel, who received the phone call. He was told that the child had been kidnapped and thrown into the Valone River. This is why our searches were focused
He was told.
on this river, and why we were able to find the body quite quickly.
According to Gregory's uncle, it was a hoarse voice that claimed responsibility for the crime. The Villemain family knew this voice well.
The family quickly named the Crow, a poison pen letter writer, as the author of the murder. So we discovered that
Wait. A crow, that's like okay. That's usually a family member who's a crow, because it goes back to that old saying, when crows pick out someone in their flock and kill them. They do that. It's crazy. So that's the crow, but it's within a family. So we know it's in the family. They recognized the voice. This should be open and shut.
the Crow had actually been harming the Villemain family in the broad sense during the previous years.
So you know who it is.
A child found bound hand and foot in a river. A murderous crow, obviously.
Yeah.
The next day, the case made the front page of the local press. The striking photos of the discovery of the body were published in La Liberté de l'Est.
Wow.
This photo sums it all up. We can see this rescuer who, from a distance like this, I imagine he's a lumberjack, who is holding something very frail in his arms. The guy doesn't know what to do. I don't know, it's a tragedy.
A logger, a hunter.
Lawrence
what?
LaCour was a young journalist at that time. This was her first big news item. She didn't know, of course, that this affair would turn her life upside down.
Wow.
Lawrence Lacour, you, at the time, were a correspondent for Europe 1, the radio, in the east of France. When did you arrive?
Oddly enough, I didn't arrive the next day. My editors considered the affair sordid. They advised me to go cover another story around Strasbourg.
The photos of Gregory's little body in the river, which were published by Liberté de l'Est, did you see them before arriving there, or were you already there?
I see them before, since they are published a few hours before my arrival in the field. So it's true that they grab me, as they will grab everyone who sees them. I remember that at the time, I was barely 27 years old. My colleagues did not want me to see these photos.
I would put her at around 27, 30. I'd put her at a 39, 40 is what, maybe even 41, 42. How long? They still don't know. What the hell's going on here, people? That means they never solved this case when we have two of the biggest clues already?
They told me, no, don't look at them. It's too hard. They wanted to protect me in a sense. I was a young woman. These pictures were not hard to see, in the sense that there was no blood or bruising. But they were very hard, because in fact, it was as if we were witnessing the assassination within a few minutes or hours. So it was a sort of slightly delayed crime, and it was a very strong emotional factor for us, which immediately immersed us in the heart of the affair.
In your opinion, these photos, so this one here, contributed to attracting journalists like magnets to the Valognes Valley?
To my knowledge, there had been no photos of child corpses published in the French press before that. In the press of eastern France, certainly not. And these are the kind of photos that generally remain in criminal identification files. As luck would have it, there was a photographer there at that time. And then there was, as if this affair had a vocation to be in the media, to be pictured. And that photo was all the more striking because the next day, we could put it next to this photo here.
Gregory's?
There you have it, Gregory's, which had been taken by a professional photographer a few weeks earlier. His parents, for his 4th birthday, had had his portrait taken.
It's not the parents, even though those are probably, usually that's the first suspect. That's the first suspect, the parents. But I don't think it's the parents.
As if
You wouldn't have bothered. You wouldn't have bothered with this.
there too there was some omen, because we rarely have such a beautiful photo of a victim of a news item, since he himself had just posed in front of a professional photographer. So comparing these pictures was a very, very strong shock. How can you expect journalists not to be paralyzed by all these elements, which will make them settle in the area, waiting for an outcome which will never happen for other reasons, and then 18 years later, we are still talking about it?
18 ans. Ils ont pas... Ils ont attrapé personne dans 18 ans. Are you kidding me?
The day after the crime, Jean-Michel Bézina, RTL's correspondent in the East, had got a scoop. He immediately collected Jean-Marie Villemain's confidences on the threshold of his house. A father's grief and terrible suspicions.
Jean-Marie Villemain, you and your wife are young. Are you thinking, why? Who resents you so much?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Do you have some kind of idea?
I have one, but I'm keeping it.
Sincerely, Jean.
I have an idea, but I'm keeping it to myself. What?
Jean-Marie Villemain, do you think that you know the murderer, the one who killed your son?
I know him. I know him, yes.
So why are you still in your house talking? Qu'est-ce que tu fous dans ta maison et tu parles? I'd be like, well, I'm going to jail because I'm about to kill somebody. If I knew who killed my kid, yeah, unfortunately, I would know, I'm going to jail for the rest of my life. Which is messed up, right? You take matters into your own hand. You kill somebody that killed your child, and then you go to jail for murder.
These words from the father of the murdered child aroused the curiosity of journalists. Especially since that morning of October 17th, Gregory's father received a letter from the day before at 5:15 p.m. from the village. The Crow had just claimed responsibility for Gregory's murder a second time. this time in writing.
On the phone, and now in writing. 18 years later, you don't know who did it?
C'est un billet très court. La lettre dit textuellement.
I gotta smoke.
Ce n'est pas ton argent qui pourra te redonner ton fils. Voilà ma vengeance, pauvre con.
The police discovered that this letter was not a first. In addition to hundreds of phone calls, the Crow had already written to the Villamine family 3 times the previous year.
Hundreds?
First of all,
phone calls?
it is a word slipped into the shutters of the house in L'Éponge. The Villamine family. I will kill you. Then Gregory's grandparents received 2 letters. In them, the Crow calls out the boss, meaning Jean-Marie. He should no longer be frequented. Otherwise, the mysterious Crow will carry out their threats on the boss and his little family.
Co-worker?
What do we find in these 3 letters? What are the words, the themes that reappear all the time? It's revenge, hatred, money, and the boss.
Jealousy. It's jealousy.
Gregory was sacrificed to the hatred, to the desire for revenge that someone felt against Jean-Marie. That is something that is clear.
On the ground, the
You
police
kill
are
the
looking
father.
for
You don't
clues.
kill a boy.
There are
You don't
no
kill a
witnesses to the
4-year-old.
kidnapping. The mother says he was playing on this pile of gravel in front of the house. She was ironing laundry inside.
That's messed up.
She saw nothing, heard nothing. Neither do the neighbors.
They're also in the middle of nowhere.
Ms.
Middle
Claudette,
of nowhere.
who had been going to gather her cows at the appointed time, did not notice anything unusual. The gendarmes then focused their search on the
Gendarmes.
place where the body had been discovered. Docelles.
Walking along the Valone River, they first tried to locate all the places where the corpse could have been thrown from. Apparently, it had to be between 2 dams because otherwise the body would have been damaged or his hood torn off or something like that. So they were walking along the river and they went back to the first dam here. And then nearby, a few meters from here, they spotted traces of a car that had maneuvered there.
Alongside these tire marks,
Ça, c'est une 1985 Citroën. No, I'm just messing with you. I have no idea.
investigators also discovered the imprint of a heel. But was that the actual crime scene? To find out, they decided to reconstruct the body's journey in the river using a life-size doll.
The test from this location led us to note the impossibility of the body being thrown there. Since at first, it gets stuck on a kind of reservoir with a lot of brush, which it only manages to cross with difficulty. And then it arrives a little further at the mouth of the Valogne and the Barba rivers, and ends up in a place very far from the one where the body was found.
A new test in the center of Docelles, behind the fire department, was much more conclusive. The mannequin ended its journey at the exact place where the child's body had been recovered.
Oh, wow.
But then why hadn't anyone seen anything, in broad daylight, in the heart of the village? Naturally, as soon as the body was brought back, the prosecution ordered an autopsy. Unfortunately, it was an incomplete autopsy, which we regretted a lot later on. The forensic doctors seemed to consider that Gregory had simply been tied up and thrown into the river, where he drowned. So he did not have the water from the lungs or the viscera analyzed. That was a first capital error, as we will never know the exact time and circumstances of Gregory's death.
Mistake number 1. Mistake number 1.
The gendarmes thought that, to arrest the murderer, they must unmask the Crow. They brought dozens of journalists in their wake.
Journalists as a whole sensed a good deal in the commercial sense, in the sales sense, in the dramatic sense of the term. We felt that this affair was going to sell well, that it was going to bounce back, etc. And so the idea of a good deal had supplanted the pain of individuals in this tragedy. And it's true that at the cemetery, there was no restraint. It was awful.
I couldn't do that.
The entire French press was there for the day of Gregory's funeral. Journalists, cameramen, photographers, all around the child's grave.
The funeral degenerated a bit because a cameraman got as close as possible to the family to try to film the mother, who had just fainted.
I would have laid him out. This would have been one laid out cameraman. You got to have balls to do that. That is serious balls right there. You need to get knocked out for doing shit like that.
Some people who reacted, they started throwing stones at the press.
Good.
There was shouting, pushing,
Good.
and shoving.
Good.
So it ended in general conconfusion. The mother was evacuated. She didn't even see her child buried. It was terrible.
It's your fault.
There were now more
C'était terrible. C'était terrible. It's because of you journalists and the press.
journalists than gendarmes on site. And of course, everyone was coming up with theories. Some even played detectives, like Jean Kerr, a senior reporter at Paris Match, who did not give up on the police for one moment.
What was quite amusing, if you like, was that we, the journalists, when there were 5 Renault 4 leaving the gendarmerie simultaneously, each of us would follow one. Then we'd arrive, they'd come down, knock on the door, a couple would come out, they'd took them in, and come back to the gendarmerie. We'd all met there, so we knew what they had done.
It sometimes even happened that journalists came before the police.
That's embarrassing.
I was lucky to be the first to meet all the families. I'd even tell the gendarmes I was lucky. I arrived before you.
Wow.
The gendarmes would tell the families, do not speak to journalists, and do not give a photo.
Yes, sir.
Fortunately, I had been there before them.
I won't hide from you that it happened. That it was quite embarrassing for the gendarmes who arrived afterwards. Because ultimately, there were elements of the investigation which had not been carried out, by the way, or not always in any case, that were found in this or that press body. So there was this kind of confusion, which was particularly embarrassing for the investigation.
To try to channel journalists, the
2 mistakes.
gendarmes hold press briefings twice a day on the steps of the gendarmerie. It was a perilous exercise. How can one talk about the investigation without revealing its secrets?
Without restraint or fear,
When they were facing journalists and they were pressed for questions, instead of closing their notebook once they had finished their press release, they'd begin to answer questions.
There were 2 witnesses?
no, there was only one.
There was another person.
They were together, 2 witnesses next to each other. It's not interesting. Here we have 2 different people.
Thanks to the journalists?
No, we already had the information. The person from Docelles had called the day after the kidnapping. There you go, thank you. We are having a meeting with the prosecutor. Unlock the door, please.
At what time tomorrow? Tomorrow, yes?
One day, Captain Sesmet told us, we are on the trail of a howling wolf in the jungle, and we are going to catch it. What else have we been told? It's an extraordinary story. You will see when you know it. There are skeletons in the closets. Obviously, when you have 30 or 40 journalists who are there, waiting for information, who are waiting for events, you should not tell them things like that.
The mistake we made was perhaps to let people believe that the matter would be resolved quickly.
3 mistakes.
So much so that journalists arrived in numbers, imagining every evening that we were going to find out who this odious crow was.
I readily admit that we did not know how to deal with a new situation, which was the influence of the press and all the media in a judicial investigation.
Oddly, it was the editorial staff of Europe 1 who suggested a lawyer to Gregory's parents, Mr. Henri-René Garot. The radio was undoubtedly hoping to obtain indiscretions on the file. The arrival of this right-wing tenor of the bar gave the affair a national impact. And in Epinal, Mr. Garot met up with an old acquaintance of his, Jean Kerr.
I told Garot, stop on the side of the road. He asks, what do you want? I say, everything. To go into the house, take photos, the letter from the crow. Is that all you want? I say, yes, you got it.
Maître Garot presented Jean Kerr to Christine and Jean-Marie Villemain as a trustworthy man. They were reassured, so they opened their doors wide for him.
So they opened the door to their intimacy. They lit up a way, and I had an idea. Suddenly I said, could I see the child's room? And Jean-Marie looked
That's balls.
at me, like saying, what does he want? He's got some nerve.
Il est gonflé.
And Garot said, yes, we would like to see it. And I can still see Jean-Marie's hand unlocking the door, and then the door opening, and there was a large frame with the child's portrait. Incredible. There were toys.
It's not the parents.
Stuffed animals. As if they were waiting for the return of the little boy.
Yes, sir. They didn't do it.
Gregory, it was a very strong image to me, and I said, Jean-Marie, please allow me. I'd like to take a picture. He looked at Christine and told me, hurry up. Do it quickly then. Afterwards, we went into the kitchen. We chatted a little. I said, now do you have photos? Because we would like to have nice pictures for Paris Match, so everyone started looking through the drawers, the cardboard boxes, the shoe boxes, and they found pictures. I picked some of them. I got 32 photos. It was a treasure. You could call it a war chest.
Jean-Pierre also got his hands on photocopies of the Crow's letters, never yet published.
Oh my God, the journalist has it. Oh, before.
The scoop was spread over a double page in Paris Match. It yielded exceptional results. It was enough to keep Gregory in the headlines for months, even years.
Said what he would have looked like.
The gendarmes were still on the Crow's trail. But who could have hated Jean-Marie Villemain to the point of writing to him after the murder? The boss, I hope you die of grief.
I hope you... Oh, man. Not only do you kill my kid, now you send me letters edging me on, saying, I hope you die of grief. And the father said, I know who did it. Something's going on here. There's a lot of skeletons for sure. Dans le placard.
The boss had been the nickname of Gregory's father since he became foreman in his factory. In such a working-class environment, his success caused jealousy.
Yeah, there you go. Jealousy.
In one of the anonymous calls he received in '83, I believe, at one point, he said to his interlocutor, "But what did I do to you?" And the other replied, "I can't stand bosses." And in another call, the interlocutor told him, "You're doing too much, you're building, you're changing cars, you're going too fast." At 26, one doesn't own a car. It was a salvage car.
100% jealousy.
So it wasn't the value of the car that was important to
Très
his
jaloux.
case. We could feel that pretty quickly because the family told us so. So we understand that this young couple is the subject of quite irrational jealousy.
They were proud of their success, and that annoyed some people around them a lot. A family event that occurred 2 days before Gregory's assassination attracted the attention of the gendarmes.
Jean-Marie and Christine were welcoming his brother Michel and his wife Ginette to their home for the first time in a long time. And Jean-Marie, completely in his spirit of the time, impressed them with his success because he'd bought a leather living room, was planning to extend the house, etc. Anyway,
I have a jealous brother.
It was an eyeful for them.
What if this meeting had been the trigger that pushed the Crow to take action? All gendarmes and journalists began rummaging through the dirty little secrets of this very ordinary family.
There's some shit going on here.
We had found ourselves projected into a somewhat remote village world, where we felt stares, felt something unsaid, felt a kind of heaviness.
Some family secrets were unearthed. A natural child, an ancestor found hanged. What did this have to do with Gregory's murder? Nothing without doubt, but whatever. The key to the enigma had to lie within the privacy of this family. A family that Jean Coeur managed to bring together for picture for Paris Match.
It feels like the truth is going to come out of this photo, of these people. We think that there's a shared story among all these people.
What do you notice? Any one of these could be a murderer. You're supposed to smile for a photo, right? A family photo, even if you hate everybody, you fake smile. Right? You don't take a picture like this. every single one of these people looks pissed off, like they want to kill somebody.
That the crow is omnipresent. I tell myself that this family...
Have you seen figure?
It's a clan.
It's a clan. They look like a cult.
I don't know if the assassin is part of this group, but he's not far behind. He has to be.
Isn't there some kind of perverted relationship at that time between you journalists and the gendarmes? Because you surround them. And they feed you like that. They give you information.
We were doing field work in a department, a region, where no one could stop us from moving around. It turns out that the families involved or the family affected by this tragedy willingly opened their doors to us at first. They did not see at first that they could fall in a trap by talking too much or giving information that would feed our papers.
You could simply go to the Villemins' house, one journalist at a time or all together, and they'd open the door?
Yes. At first, Gregory's grandparents were mines of information for us because they did not feel the risk they were taking in speaking. So it's true. We'd simply ring the bell, sit down, and have coffee with them.
Oh, and coffee avec...
I think that, in the family, in the broader sense of the term, there were people who were interested in knowing what the gendarmes were doing. And we were able to tell them so. Because we were following the gendarmes, we talked with them between two doors. It was all really very messy, a very effervescent atmosphere.
Giving hints.
So you were informing the family about what the gendarmes...
You're informing the family when one of the people in the family is the murderer.
...had told you, right?
Quite. We are able to tell them, for instance, there's a gendarmerie van in front of Mr. X's house. At the time, we didn't realize what we were doing. We were surely giving information to people who could use it to protect themselves from the investigation. Everyone had an interest in this cross-investigation game.
At that time, for example, were you trying to identify the crow? Was it a challenge that you all had set for yourself?
Of course. Don't lie.
We can't say we'd said it so deliberately,
You
because
lied.
we knew that's not what we were here for.
Bullshit.
I think what fascinated us was meeting these people, who we didn't know at all at the time, and saying to ourselves, maybe it's him, maybe I'll shake the murderer's hand.
You see, journalists are crazy.
It obsessed us.
Do you remember from time to time that he's the one at the heart of it all?
He was quickly forgotten.
Oh,
Contrary
wow.
to appearances, he was quite quickly forgotten. Very quickly,
wrong.
the heart of our concern was no longer the child himself.
That is wrong.
It was the idea that we'd become actors in some play, some players in a game, and that we had power in informing people. That maybe we were going to help cornering the culprit, and that we would also be the ones to have the privilege of announcing that to the whole of France, which was supposedly waiting for us to give them the answer. It is true that the child himself was quite quickly forgotten. Of course, that contributed a lot to the excesses, obviously.
C'est triste.
Like the journalists, the gendarmes were convinced that the crow was part of the family. So they
You're looking at the faces, right?
checked everyone's alibi well beyond the first family circle.
They all look like they could kill. Even the
They
women.
were told that a crow likes to observe the reaction of their victims. Gregory's grandparents were the ones who received the greatest number of anonymous calls and letters. They lived in Almondsey. And the crow might be there, very close to home.
Well, as soon as we learned from the experts that the crow was someone geographically close to the people they were targeting, that is to say, the family of Albert Villemain, it was systematic. Anyone interviewed by the gendarme was subjected to a dictation. And that is how we indirectly came to Bernard Laroche.
Bernard Laroche was a first cousin of Jean-Marie Villemain. He lived on the heights of Aumondsey with his wife, Marie-Ange, and their son Sébastien, 4 years old, like Gregory. Bernard Laroche's dictation attracted the attention of an expert consulted by the gendarmes. Compared to the Raven's letters, his writing was considered interesting, so the gendarmes focused on this cousin with no history.
He knew everything that happened in the family, thanks to his relationships with Michel and Jeanette. So he was someone we were interested in. On the surface, he was known as good-natured, friendly, etc. That corresponds relatively well to the profile given by experts for a potential crow.
sur un corbeau potentiel.
2 weeks after Gregory's murder, the press was growing impatient. It was complaining about the slowness on the investigation. The investigating judge then decided to bring together several writing experts in Nancy, including Ms. Barichon-Sedaine, who came specially from Paris.
Look at those computers.
For her, it was clear. The Raven letters had been written by the same hand.
Oh.
Then, she compared them to dozens of dictations carried out throughout the region. A methodical work, which very quickly led to a name. The suspects.
Okay, you got a suspect. Why is this 18 years later?
I stayed all afternoon, where I worked on the file of 147 or 148 people I no longer remember. And what allowed me to eliminate, to focus effectively on the writing of Bernard Laroche. And there, around 5 o'clock, I called Captain Sesmat back. I told him, look, I have an opinion. That's my opinion. I can't say he's the murderer. I told him he's the one who wrote the letters.
Voilà. Because, yeah. But essentially, yes, it should be the murderer.
Obviously, this opinion impressed the judge and the gendarmes, especially since a new clue on one of the letters was also discovered.
We could see quite clearly the traces of what looked like a signature.
On the claim letter?
On the claim letter, which came from a paper pile, and which therefore had received the imprint of writing.
He signed something on top of the like death threat, you could call it, or whatever the note is. Yeah, bad move, Mr. Murderer. Bad move.
Previously traced on the same pile.
That's pretty good, yeah.
That imprint could be exploited.
No
to make it readable, the letter is entrusted to Dennis Klein, a gendarme with a passion for writing expertise. To reveal the furrows printed on the paper, he shines a light beam across the sheet.
With adapted means, like grazing life, with a grazing incidence, we could see an L and a B, indeed. Very clearly, it was a letter L, a calligraphic letter L, with a large start, curved at the superior part, and the letter B was a typographic letter, indeed a quite common typographic B.
And oddly, when you superimpose the L and the B engraved in the letter of the crow with the real signature of...
I mean, that's too long of a signature. It wasn't a signature then, it was initials. Wasn't there more than just L and a B? Wasn't there more than just L, B? L? No, there's more than a B, you agree? Look at the size of that signature. It's like this, it's like this. Then, you come over here. Come on, that's way bigger. The L and the B, no, I don't think it's him. The L and the B look, nah. A lot of people would do an L like that.
Bernard Laroche. Well, it fits. It fitted so well that the next day, Laroche and his wife were taken into custody and immediately questioned, but with no result. So, after 24 hours, in the absence of a confession, they are released.
The police...
What was the reason of no result?
...suspected me because I had handwriting that resembled that of the crow. Either way, I stood my ground. I stood my ground. It wasn't mine. I have a clear conscience. They couldn't prove it was me. What do you want me to tell you? I know it's not me. I know what I'm doing.
But the gendarmes were clinging to this lead. They went through Bernard Laroche's schedule. What was he doing at the time of Gregory's kidnapping? He was, he said, in Aumoncey. His wife's sister, Muriel Boll.
That's the one who probably did it. Looked crazy like an exorcist.
A 15-year-old schoolgirl confirmed it. She'd seen him in Aumoncey around 5:20 p.m. She was coming home from school. The gendarmes were not convinced. Details didn't add up.
After some time, Muriel broke down and finally admitted that she had not told the truth. She admitted that she had returned home with Bernard Laroche, who had come to pick her up from school, but that together they'd left for L'Éponge, and that she'd seen him kidnap little Gregory.
Ils sont partis à l'éponge, et qu'elle l'a vu enlever le petit Gregory.
18 ans, eh ben.
Muriel was now talking about a first stop in the center of L'Éponge.
Okay. You know what? Okay, we'll stay here. I'm going to stay here. That'll be part 1 because I'm getting tired. Time to go night-night soon. This could be very interesting, folks, because from what I saw, okay, so what do we think so far? Okay, so I don't think it's the parents. And although no, the L and the B might be very similar, but that signature did not match, in my opinion. So I don't think it's LB. I don't think it's him. And that just leaves the entire rest of the crazy looking family, that they all look like nut jobs. So we just have to pick one, because it's definitely one of these nut jobs. I mean, you just gotta look at their face. They all got nut in them. So there's definitely some skeletons in the closet. The parents, I don't believe are the murderers, but there's some shit going on. They know something. I mean, the father said, I know who it is. We, je sais. Well, what are you doing? You're just going to stay home and relax? And that part's confusing. But anyway, part 1, done. I'm going to try, like I said, I'm going to try to do these every day because I don't want to forget the story. But very interesting. This is going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. But 18 years, I mean, that's ridiculous. That's straight up ridiculous. Anyway, three mistakes so far by the police. 18 years, and the father knows who did it. It's going to be interesting. Part 2 coming up. Demain, coming up. Peace out.